It's Monday night in spring, and we're under the lights at Neyland Stadium, Brent Hubbs, Tennessee's first practice of spring. And clearly one player stood out tonight, and that's, well, maybe a couple, but specifically Travis Smith kind of oohed and awed them with a nice touchdown on a fade and a couple other nice catches.
Yeah, and he's a guy who was really confident when we talked to him at the start of spring practice, and really felt like he had a pretty good grasp of things, and was excited to show what he could do. And I think he's had a good spring, and tonight under the lights in the first scrimmage setting, I think he answered the bell there as well. Now, we've all know that there's a lot more to it as you go into the next phase. There's more installs and all that. But I don't think there's any doubt Tennessee likes what they have athletically with those young freshman receivers, starting with Travis Smith. Listen, he played elite level football in the state of Georgia, played at a good level of football there. Really prepared player, really mentally pretty sharp and mature. Going to be fun to watch him develop.
The one other kind of common theme was just the overall team speed. It feels like they're a faster team right now than they were maybe when they exited the field. That makes some sense. They're a little more explosive receiver. I mean, Dante Thornton is gone. He was a speed guy, but like Brew McCoy wasn't a speed guy, and so, I mean, I think, not just receiver, but like even like, adding a guy like Booth playing both ways, a little more explosive on the offensive line.
I mean, and I think that's been the goal, right? And they've got to find those explosive plays. Again, you're going to look at me and call me the wet blanket guy. I do think you have to take
spring. I agree.
You have to take into account. I mean, they're down about 4 linebackers. They're down 3 defensive linemen. So they're down in the secondary a little bit. So does that kind of make it look a little different than maybe what reality is? I don't know. I do know that we know Boo Carter's explosive. Okay, yeah. You and I have seen enough of Radarius and enough of Braylon Staley and some of these guys, Mike Matthews. I mean, there's more explosiveness at that position out on the perimeter, which has been a priority for Tennessee to get to. They've got to get faster, and I think they are.
In an effort to talk about everybody but the quarterback to begin with, now we shift to the quarterback, who, from all accounts, from a handful of people you talked to, I talked to, really impressed tonight. And I asked Josh Heupel, where are you seeing a different Nico from maybe? And I told him, I said, I get it's spring, it's a spring scrimmage, but how's he different from Columbus to now?
Yeah, and I think it's command. I think it's growth in the offense. I think it's understanding everything. And listen, I don't care how many defensive players you're down or you don't have this, you don't have that.
You still got to complete them.
What the theme that I heard coming out of tonight is that offensively they operated well. They were clean. They didn't drop a bunch of balls. They didn't have a bunch of miscommunications. They didn't have a bunch of jumping off sides, false starts, and things like that. They were a clean, for a first scrimmage for the offense, which typically everybody talks about defense after scrimmage number 1 because they're typically ahead. This offense played clean tonight, particularly with that first group with Nico at the quarterback position, which I think is a really nice start and a really nice step for this team as they make their way through spring here the last couple of weeks.
Finally, Tennessee offered Zayden Anderson, the defensive back from Greenville, after tonight's scrimmage. He picks up an offer. That's a big offer. He was pretty giddy. I mean, he walked in here not knowing that was coming. Tennessee kind of walked in here thinking, we like his tape. What's he look like in person? Check box, and it ends with a check box for an offer. And that's a big deal for a local kid.
Yeah, and a guy who's in a winning program, who's played a lot of football, who's won a lot of football games. We'll be curious to see how his recruitment takes off. It's a copycat deal. We know now the phone's going to start ringing and all that stuff with the news out there. But a local, evaluation that Tennessee has did their due diligence on with the tape. Didn't want to offer just off tape. Wanted to get an eyeball test on him, and obviously liked the eyeball test tonight and offered him a scholarship. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
He is Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price from Neyland Stadium. Tennessee's first spring practice scrimmage is in the books. We'll have full coverage on the General's Quarters.